We turn our attention to the other team in Manchester now, who also faced opponents from Merseyside over the weekend, losing 1-0 to Everton, which was damaging in their bid to finish in the top four, which does seem to be slipping away from them in recent games. And you have to wonder, Ian, how a team that finished second last season and added Cristiano Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho and Raphael Varane find themselves in this position.
Well, it's a mess at Manchester City. I mean, it's not the first time that we've said it. There's so much wrong there. I think it's pretty well known by now. The story's got out that the dressing room is a bit on the toxic side. There are divisions in there. And I think when they get in a corner, they can't fight their way out of that corner. And that's one of the reasons, I think, that they don't have that kind of band of brothers thing going on. And, you know, they had the chances early on against Everton, but in the end they were outfought by Everton. Everton wanted it more than Manchester United, and you know what? We've said that a few times about United, and I think, frankly, you know, you heard the interview Luke Shaw did when he was with England, more or less admitting that it was not a pleasant place to be around. I think those players can't wait for the season to end. I don't see them finishing in the top four, and I wouldn't imagine very many others do either.
Are there overrated players, Frank, in this Manchester United side? We just mentioned some of the players that were brought in: Cristiano Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho, Raphael Varane, and if so, who?
I wouldn't say overrated players. I think not very well used players, and I would say that the combination of all the players doesn't match. That's what it is. That's the problem with all the recruitment that we've seen for, I guess, I would say a decade with Manchester United, where you made the choice of paying or launching big money to maybe having a fantastic team where the essence of Manchester United doesn't come from there. You're losing the basics of the club, where it's always been players from the academy who created the history of the club. There you see names, but you see big names, you see lots of money spent, like maybe never, for a result, a catastrophe, I would say. Yes, you have fantastic players, and I would say that they are fantastic players, but they don't match, they don't want to play together, they don't have somebody who can lead them on the pitch and just outside of the pitch. It's a big mess. I don't know what to say anymore about that team. I think we have to leave them alone, deal with the mess, and see within a year or two what's going on over there.
But Jules, managers change, but the performances don't seem to change. Do you think that in hindsight, going for Ralph Rangnick wasn't the correct decision when there was a manager like Antonio Conte available?
Yeah, I think we can say now that hasn't worked out, really. I mean, we can just look at the win percentage, which is even lower than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think he's the lowest since even before Sir Alex Ferguson or something crazy like that. This is probably the worst United team that we've seen since the 70s, and I was not even born in the 70s, but certainly from, if you look down the years, this is the worst. And it's a shambles from top to bottom, structurally, at the football club, which is maybe the worst. The most worrying is that the whole structure is wrong. The team is a shambles, of course. The academy is a shambles. The signing, the recruitment, even the recruitment in the youth team is a shambles. So there's just nothing right now. It will take them, I think, a very long time. And you mentioned the second place from last season, Kay. I think they overachieved, and that was hiding all the mess anyway. But I don't even know where to start in terms of what could they do to be better next season. They need to get rid of so many of those players in the squads, to get so many different players, and obviously start with the manager and then get his idea and his identity. And you can't get it wrong this time, because you clearly got it wrong with Rangnick. The whole idea of an interim coach, he was there for 6 months but not really there, and maybe after he's a consultant but he's not really a consultant. And we've said from day one, a club like Manchester United, one of the greatest clubs in the world, cannot have an interim manager for 6 months. It just doesn't work like that. Go and get someone that you appoint, the right guy, for a normal contract, not just for 6 months. Rangnick never got the players' approval in a way, never got the authority that he deserved or that he should have had as a Manchester United manager. And from there, from day one, the whole thing was going to be wrong anyway.
Jules, you mentioned players that they need to get rid of. Who would you be referring to?
Good luck.
Three-quarters of the squad. I mean, there's the ones who are going to leave because they're off contract anyway, like Paul Pogba, like many others. What do you do with Marcus Rashford? He wants a new deal. I was told, wants quite a lot of money in wages. Right now, you can't keep Marcus Rashford on his terms. It doesn't work like this. What do you do with Cristiano? I think Cristiano is the biggest question mark. Whoever comes as a manager will have to decide, do we keep him, but you keep him and you play him? Can he fit any identity that a new manager like Ten Hag or Pochettino wants to implement in that football team? I'm not sure. Do you get rid of him? How do you get rid of him on the money that he's on with one more year left on his contract? Who's going to take him at his age? So that you just start with the biggest one. And then what do you do with players like Matic? What do you do with Maguire? What do you do with Lindelof? You still have Eric Bailly. You're still paying Phil Jones. Phil Jones right now is being paid 150,000 a week by Manchester United. How is that even possible? So all of that has to go. And then you bring on the players that your manager wants, the players that he will fit in his philosophy, in his system, in his tactics. And if that means it's not a big name, but it's someone who runs a lot, who presses well, who is intelligent, go and get him. If he wants a big name, go and get him. But stop wasting your money that you've done for so many years.
Easy peasy, hey, Frank. Not a lot to do at Manchester United.
Yeah. Well, that's the main problem. And Jules pointed what they should do is really getting rid of most players, but they're under contract. But again, you have to leave them alone, I think, deal with their own mess because it's what they created. Maybe get rid of all the people in the board and people who made those decisions and restart from scratch, because it's going to take ages to get rid of the players, to restart something, rebuild the academy, rebuild the first team, rebuild the board. I mean, they destroyed one of the biggest clubs in the world, if it's not the biggest club in the world. Can you imagine that? It's a big, big mess. Arsenal almost went into it after Wenger left. I saw Marseille a little bit like that. What's going to happen to Paris Saint-Germain soon? Barcelona almost went into that, and they seem to survive. There are big clubs who've been under question marks, but that one, when we see the players, when we see the status of the club, but when we see what's going on in and just out of Old Trafford, it's a nightmare. It's really a nightmare, and I feel sad for the fans, really.
Casual little drop in of Marseille there by Frank. Shaka, could you ever have foreseen this in your days in the Premier League, that this is what would happen to Manchester United?
No, not at all. I think a real discussion around Manchester United is if they're going to do as Liverpool did and go some 30 years before you can see them realistically in a title race again. And as much as Manchester United fans might not want to hear that, refuse to think that, it's an absolute truth for them. And the other truth of that is it's of their own making. Listen, between Jules and Frank, they touched on all the issues around Manchester United, around the academy, around the playing squad and what needs to be restructured. But the football club is being run as poorly as any club, let alone we're talking about one of the biggest clubs in world football. What football club, what big football club is afraid of a manager because he's too outspoken? What big football club in today's game does not go after the most highly decorated coach that is available because he has a little bit too much to say for himself, and you allow Antonio Conte to walk away, and you bring in Ralph Hasenhuttl instead? You're creating your own problems. And to your question, Kate, now I'm really wondering if that second place finish jaded Manchester United in terms of their own assessment of where they are. Because the truth is, last season, they finished second last season, and over the course of 38 games, you have to say you deserve that. But City won the league. That's normal and to be expected. Chelsea changed their manager halfway through the season. I don't think any other big club was more affected by COVID than Liverpool. So now all of a sudden you finish second and you think we're in a good place, and you hiding from your own truth. And now you know that has come home to roost. And I honestly do not know how or when Manchester United get themselves out of this absolute mess.
Ian, you get the final thought on this?
Just a couple of things, really. You put up that caption of the team, and I was looking at it and thinking, who in that team is having a good season? Only the goalkeeper, as far as I could discern, De Gea. Cristiano Ronaldo, off and on, yes. The others, really, all underperforming against what you'd expect. And another point, really, is, yes, a clear-out's needed, but who now wants to go to Manchester United? People would have walked on broken glass to go there when Sir Alex Ferguson was there. Now they might be in the European Conference League, or maybe not even in Europe at all if Wolves overtake them and they end up finishing 8th.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.